Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to bring to you all the best brain body tools to feel, look, and do your best. And what does brain have to do with looking and feeling your best, for example? Well, for doing, it's kind of obvious. Your brain helps you to make better decisions and solve problems better. But what does your brain have to do with looking and feeling better? Guess what, folks? Your decisions in different areas of your life also affect how you look and how you feel. What kind of emotions you manifest through different actions, through different projects you work on, personal and professional, different relationships you cultivate, and of course, simple things like your habits, like what you put on your plate daily, or whether you exercise or not, whether you have good sleep hygiene or not. All of that will define how well you look, how well you feel, and how well you do in life, in business, in any area of your life. Everything, folks, almost every single area that we want to be successful at, we want to develop certain habits, certain rituals, certain things we do consistently that contribute to that success in that area. If you take your financial success, you want to have certain financial literacy. You want to have certain financial habits or business habits that contribute to your success, or to not wasting money. Like, for example, a lot of people have a talent to make a lot of money and then spend and waste a lot of that money. And so they have nothing left with. A lot of people like myself struggling with building or that initial wealth that then they can keep. I'm pretty good actually with keeping and saving, but not as great with making yet. I'm working on that, and that's soon also going to be improved. But what do I do to improve my financial wealth, my financial success? I develop new habits. For example, in my business, in my coaching business, I hone down, I master this idea of outbound marketing. What it basically means is getting out there every single day and getting after business. That means having certain reach outs to people on different social media profiles. LinkedIn is my favorite these days, Facebook, Instagram. Then initiating certain conversations to start getting to know the person and seeing whether I can help them or not. And then moving those conversations forward into networking calls. And some of those calls turning into sales calls. And that has to be done as a habit on a regular basis at this point of development of my business if I want to grow my wealth, and then if I want to keep and maintain it and develop into something bigger, right? First, I gotta develop habits. So that's an example from wealth, how habits can help you to grow, to build more of it. If I don't develop certain habits and I just do things, here and there and everywhere as I used to do, you get inconsistency. And the same goes for health and fitness. If you eat salad on Monday and for the rest of the week, your diet is pretty poor in quality and nutrients, not saying that salad is the most nutritious thing, but if you eat really well on Monday or like a couple of days a week, and the rest of the week things are kind of all over the place, don't expect consistent results in your health and in your fitness and in anything related to your physical body. The same goes for fitness. If you want to develop certain results, if you want to build muscle mass, if you want to develop your flexibility, your mobility, if you want to develop a specific athletic skill, all of that requires consistency in action. Our brain is built that way, that whatever we don't use, we lose. And the reason why our brain developed that way is so we don't waste resources on something we don't need in life. Because resources, just like financial resources, energy resources, our physical resources are limited. And the brain does its best job to make sure that we don't waste those resources where they are not needed. And so when we don't use something, when we don't work on certain skills, when we don't work on certain fitness skills or financial skills or healthy eating skills, we lose that part of our brain, that part of our network of neural connections. And that skills atrophies to maybe not completely, but it gets worse and worse, and there is less and less energy in that, and we get a physical manifestation of lacking that skill, be that losing our muscle mass or losing our money, right? So the point of this is to help you to understand that everything that you have consistently in life, that you get like weight loss, for example, if you lose weight and you keep the progress, you keep the result, it means that you developed new habits that allow you to stay in that new state of health, in new state of weight, or what they call in science, weight set point. If you lose weight and gain weight and lose weight and gain weight, it means you haven't actually developed consistent habits in the area of weight maintenance. And so that's the mistake for a lot of people. People go on a diet, but they only go on a diet for, I don't know, a month, 2 months, 3 months, and they get back to their old habits, and old habits bring old results. So they haven't really developed systems and habits to maintain for life, to keep the result for life. I hope this makes sense, folks. And you now understand that everything you want to keep in life, you have to develop habits, systems, rituals, things you do consistently to maintain that result consistently. Now, of course, they're going to change. Losing weight is not as difficult, is not as easy. It's not as difficult as maintaining it. Making money, from my perspective, is not as easy as just keeping it. Or building muscle is not as easy as just maintaining it. Creating is always harder, because we also have to create new skills, have to learn new skills, and then have to figure out a lot of new things we gotta do in life, and figure out the right approach that actually works in our situation. All that to say, folks, building habits is a little bit more complex and harder and more difficult, and finding things that work than maintaining it. So work on building and expect it to be difficult, uncomfortable, challenging, but understand that it's not going to continue indefinitely. Like for me, I lost weight that I needed to lose, and now I'm maintaining it, and it doesn't feel like any work at all. It's just what I do every single day. And that's when you know that you're going to keep the results for life. The same with your finances, with my finances. When I get to a point that it's going to feel like my second nature, it's going to feel like no work at all. And it's going to be easy and simple. But building habits, again, building and finding what works, and then building habits, routines, rituals, systems around that, that's where the initial challenge is. But you can do it easier. And there is really good science showing us, confirming, and really good research showing a better way to build habits, to build systems, so we don't forget, so we don't struggle that much. Yesterday I was listening to a podcast that the main takeaways I wanted to share with you here, because they're so, again, essential to success in our life. The podcast was with BJ Fogg. He is a PhD in behavioral neuroscience. That means he studies how our brain works when it comes to behavior change and formation, or like when it comes to, formation, different habits, or breaking those habits. So that's what he does for a living. He studies that, and then he actually teaches even companies how to create certain systems, behaviors, how to install them in a corporate setting. But back to us and our personal challenge of building new habits in any area of our life. So BJ Fogg has this system that I really love, because it's so simple and so makes sense and actually works. B equals MAP, or MAP. What does it mean? B is behavior, new habit that you're trying to introduce. MAP is the acronym for motivation, ability, prompt. So behavior or habit equals motivation, ability, prompt. Motivation is our desire to do this habit. Now, the less desire you have, like for example, if you don't have really much desire to eat healthy at the moment, you need to figure out a bigger motivation of why you actually want to do that and why you want to, lose that weight, why you want to get fitter. Like, what is a deeper reason? Motivation, I always say it's an emotional, deep reason to act combined with the energy to act, physical energy to act. But what is your reason? Without the reason, true internal, like sometimes we're motivated externally, something forces us to get after things, but they show it in studies that the most powerful source of motivation is always inside of it. It's always internal. So figure out why it is important for you to create a certain habit. Maybe what's really good motivation is also pain motivation. What are you going to lose? What are you missing out in life on? Like when it comes to financial abundance, what life could you be living? What people could you be friends with? What experiences could you be having? How you could be taking care of your family? How you could be developing yourself by investing in certain education or certain professional skills development activities, right? Different festivals, or again, networking with really smart people who are just at a different level of financial abundance. So figure out, what are you missing out on? That might be a huge motivation. So to build behavior faster, you have to figure out that motivation. Why is it important for you to build that habit? Because it isn't. If it's not important, your brain will prioritize something over that new habit. So if let's say weight loss is not that important, your brain will say, well, why should we bother about restricting or changing our eating habits at all, or doing the exercise that we might not like that much yet? The brain will prioritize over things that you don't have strong motivation for. I hope it makes sense, folks. And just understand that without that, don't even move forward. Don't figure out the best, diet, the best way to bring aboard more clients. If you don't have the motivation to develop that skill in the first place, you're not going to last. You're going to give up after the second challenge. And that's why a lot of people quit after the first week or first weekend, even on the diet. Like people go last through Monday to Friday and then they quit on Saturday, Sunday. Well, yeah, maybe the plan was stupid, but most important reason, motivation. If you don't have a strong enough motivation source, whether a desire or pain you're moving away from, forget about that. You're not gonna change. Understand this. So the first thing you gotta work to create habits really, really fast, motivation. Once you have strong enough motivation, my problem in life has always been that I've got too good with motivating myself that sometimes it would be so hard for me to quit. I would just go and go and go and go after one thing just because I need that result. And my brain would be so motivated that it wouldn't even quit one course of action for maybe a more effective one. So I'm changing that. But motivation, folks, it's the first step, figuring out that, amplifying that to build a habit, to build new rituals, to build new systems in your life. So motivation, what is your motivation to build that new set of habits and new set of rituals and systems to ultimately reach certain goal, certain result, and keep it for life? Now, the second, ability. Ability is how easy it is for you to do this new behavior. The higher the ability, the faster you're going to stick with that habit. And BJ Fogg recommends to start always with the easiest form of this new habit. So for example, if you decided to start eating healthier, your ability, your ease, make it easier for yourself to start to form that habit. Maybe add vegetables to each of your meal. Maybe add protein and vegetables to each of your meal. Forget about dieting. Forget about all these, carb restriction, complex macros. Those things are difficult. They're challenging for a beginner. Forget about that. Make incremental improvements towards your goal and start, especially if you've been struggling in the area, with the simplest form. Don't complicate things. I think my problem with finances was I tried to complicate too many things and jumped ahead when I just needed to start with the basics, was building up that habit of reaching out to people every single day and just putting in the numbers. That was the main takeaway of my recent obsession with funnels and all this more complex sales system. I first needed to develop simple habits because from my experience, I knew that all my clients previously came to me. Yes, some of them came from my content, but a lot of them, when I initiated the conversation, when I reached out, and when I did more of that, more clients came. And so with the new product, I never actually developed this habit. And so I needed to start with the basics. And basics are simple. You just do, the simple thing of filtering out people with certain qualities that I predefine, and then reaching out with a certain message that I also design, right? Simple. You just do the numbers every single day. So simplicity first, ease first, and then you add complexity once that starts working and starts bringing results. Obviously, you have to have a proven system, knowing that this method, for example, adding more protein to your healthy meals does decrease your appetite. It increases your satiety. Basically, it makes you less hungry, more full, and you start eating less without even having to think about that, right? Those things are simple. They're easy. And now your chance of building that new habit of eating healthy increased exponentially. The same with fitness. People have all these complex programs for building muscles, like that many repetitions, that many sets, before they even develop a habit of just showing up every day for 10-15 minutes, doing maybe some simple YouTube at home workout. And when people tell me, well, I just can never stick with exercise, and I ask them what have they tried, and they try some complex spin 90x or some super, again, complex workout written by a fitness model who was trying to prepare for the competition. This is not how you start. This is how you overload your brain. And in the context of complex life, you're just gonna quit because it was too complex, too early. So instead, you gotta increase again your chances of developing habit faster. And then you can add complexity. I always say that consistency first, complexity second, or intensity second. So you first focus on the consistency, and following the Fogg, neuroscientist from Stanford model, first you focus on this motivation, ability, prompt. So you focus on the ability, on the easiness to build the habit first. And then once the habit is built, once you're ready, for example, exercise every day, you can add on top of that. You can change exercises. You can add time. So you start building on top of already existing habit. And that always folks, so much easier. When you already have, for example, protein and veggies in your every single meal, now you can, maybe I can substitute my pasta for a cup of beans that I'm gonna cook in advance on Sunday. Maybe then I'm gonna replace my dessert with some fruit, right? And that already will feel so much easier. So now I hope you can see how doing that the right way, the scientific way, can increase your chances for success for building the new habit and keeping that habit so you keep the result. How this science-based model increases your chances for success. So first, work on your motivation. It has to be there. It's like a fuel for building new habits and systems. And then ability, make it easy. And then prompt. Prompt is what makes you do the behavior, what triggers the behavior. A lot of times when I work with clients, I would prescribe them, so to speak. We agree on a certain habit, like for recovery, we might talk about foam rolling. And the next time we talk, I ask them, so did you do the habit? How many times did you do it? And they're like, I've completely forgot about that habit. And at first I couldn't understand, like, how could you forget? But that's because I forgot what it means to not know the formula of building habits. People forget because their foam roller is somewhere in the corner, and they do their foam rolling by their bed. It is in different room, and the foam roller, it's not even visible. It's just, somewhere there. And now before going to bed, they just, take shower and go to bed. They don't have anything to remind them that they were supposed to do foam roller. It's not that they were against it. They actually chose to do that. They enjoyed the result when they did it, but they just forget. So prompt is that what doesn't allow you to forget. So the hack that I found, I would tell my clients, well, put your foam roller on your bed. And so before going to bed, before starting, to prepare for bed, taking a shower, etc., you'll see that foam roller. For somebody, it would foam roller in the shower. So before they go into the shower, they would see that foam roller and they're like, I have to do foam rolling. And then they would do it. So prompt is so very crucial, especially for building habits that might not necessarily be linked to any other habits, or not a natural behavior. Like, for example, when it comes to healthy eating, the prompt is having a meal. The prompt is setting the table. The prompt is your hunger. You're going to eat one way or the other, so you're going to be prompted. But then to not forget to change what you actually put on that plate. That's where preparation comes in handy. That's where you prepare your protein. That's where you prepare your vegetables in advance if you decided to work on your vegetable intake. That's where you cook your lentils in advance and put it in front of in the fridge. That's where the preparation comes in. But the trigger, you are hungry, you're going to be eating, so it's right there. For fitness, set up the alarm, put it in your schedule like you would put in a meeting. Create or choose the program that you're going to do and put it somewhere obvious. Maybe put your gym bag somewhere right in front of the entrance when you're leaving the house, if you decide to exercise after work, for example. So all this to say, you have to have as a trigger something that will prompt you to do the desired, the new behavior. If there is not, you're most likely to forget. Not because you have a brain that works not so well, but because your brain is busy with so many things in our complex, busy, very often overcomplicated, data-rich and attention-poor culture. You're going to be bombarded with so many things, especially if you have a lot of hats to wear at work. Maybe you're a business owner, and maybe you work and you have your business, and you have family, and you have kids, and you have so many responsibilities. There are so many things that your brain has to take care of. My personal advice as your brain's coach, keep as few things in your head, in your memory as possible. And so when you decide to start new behavior, put it on your calendar, create reminders, hot reminders, meaning they remind you of the need to take action when you can actually take that action. So, for example, when it comes to foam rolling, don't set your alarm in the morning telling you to do foam rolling at night, but set it right, let's say 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. when you're going to do that foam rolling. For meals, if you have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner at certain times, then set your alarm there. Have protein and veggies for breakfast or for lunch or for dinner or, for every single meal. So that set the alarms, set the reminders, put things on your calendar. Don't just hope to remember that. That is the most ineffective strategy out there. So prompt, there has to be a prompt. And again, the most effective prompt is the one that you see when you can and will take the action. They call them hot triggers. So design those, and the likelihood of you forgetting is close to zero. A lot of my clients are also busy entrepreneurs or parents, and they just have busy lives, like most of us are these days. And in order for them to even show up for our calls, especially at the beginning when it's not their second nature, I have to set up reminders. For example, Calendly software allows you to schedule people in, and then they will put their email and then their mobile phone number, and the software has the capability to send them reminders to their email and their mobile phone. And I always make it a must to fill in the mobile phone number field, because I know that clients are busy, and so they don't forget, and they show up for the sessions that they paid for and they scheduled, and so we make progress that they want to make. So there is a reminder going to their email, to their phone, so they never forget, because it's something that they want to do. So the same, you absolutely have to manufacture for yourself some sort of prompt. Maybe it's even, a text message to yourself to put protein and veggies for lunch, dinner, or to do your workout, or to do your foam rolling, whatever that might be, or to reach out to people. For myself, right? I just put it on my calendar, and it's like, okay, reach out to 40 people daily, and then have 10 conversations, etc. So that I actually have in my schedule. So let's get back to the formula for forming habits fast. Behavior equals MAP. M for motivation, A for ability or the ease of making this habit happen, and prompt, the reminder for you to start the behavior. The last piece that is not in this formula, now you probably heard that in order to form a habit, you need to repeat it many, many times. Some people say you have to repeat it for 3 weeks. Science actually tells us that the formation of habit will happen somewhere in between 18 to 254 days. On average, it's 68, I believe, 60 something. So 65 days it takes on average to build a habit. How fast you're going to build a habit depends on many factors, like how easy that habit is for you, how connected this habit is to other stuff that you already do, how motivated you are for doing that habit. But something that not a lot of people, not a lot of coaches talk about is that behavior or habit is a function of emotion. And that's, again, I'm stealing from BJ Fogg, behavioral neuroscientist from Stanford. So the habit is the function of emotion, not repetition. What he means here is that when we wire habits, we form habitual behaviors when we get a strong emotion, strong positive emotion connected to that action. So if you do the habit and you get so much positive emotion from it the first time, it's what, again, BJ Fogg says, one and done. You do it once and it's wired for, weeks, months, and years. When the emotion is so strong. That's why, for example, drugs are so addictive. You don't need to do them many times for 25 days, for 21 days, or for whatever days to have the effect. No, the stronger the drug, the stronger the addictive property of the drug, the more positive emotion, in most cases, it's dopamine, you get, the more reward you get, and the faster that habit forms. So what BJ Fogg tells us is you need to manufacture, and that's what I always share with my clients, you need to learn how to make yourself feel good, how to make yourself feel successful, how to get joy and pleasure from doing the habit. The more that you feel on the first day, first time you do the habit, the faster and easier it's gonna for you to form the habit. So for example, if you did some exercise, for me, I love rollerblading, right? When I have access to rollerblading, you don't need to tell me to form a habit. I'll go as many times as I can, because it gives me so much pleasure and joy. So if one of your if one of the habits that you are working on is exercise, that find the exercise that you truly love, that you find truly joyful, and you won't need any other sources of motivation and even prompts and triggers. You'll want to do that. The joy, that pleasure, that success that you get from that habit will drive you to do that habit. Now, sometimes, like reaching out to people, back to my own financial wealth building, sometimes it's not necessarily always joy and pleasure. Like you reach out to people, but you don't necessarily get any reward from it. But I always manufacture it. Okay, so I have 40 people to reach out every single day. I have a habit of keeping a notepad by my side, and I put a check mark every time I reach out to one person. And that actually act of doing the check mark, drawing a check mark, gives me that satisfaction. And at the end of it, I have like 40 check marks. I'm like, 40 people. I reach out to a lot of people. I also love it when LinkedIn tells me you reached your limit of connections for the week. I'm like, yeah, I did it. Right? So you need to manufacture some sort of progression and accomplishment. And it's also kind of, for me, doing this homework that I got from one of the coaches who teaches other coaches how to build a constant flow of clients. So for me, doing this homework, it feels pleasurable because I always love to follow through on my commitments. If I committed to do that for the next 90 days, then doing that for the next 90 days feels pleasurable to me. It feels aligned with my goals, and I feel confident that I can stick with other things, that I can be successful because I'm following a system that brought success to so many people. It feels pleasurable to follow through on your commitments. Wouldn't you say so? Like when you actually do the things that you said you're going to do, it feels pleasurable. You feel aligned. You feel powerful in your own skin. Like I said, I'm going to do it. It was difficult, but I still did it. The second way to make anything pleasurable is to get back to your motivation and to figure out why it is important to you and what you actually are contributing to in your own life. What kind of wealth, well-being, health goal, what kind of down the road, what kind of experiences, life quality you create by doing that specific habit. And maybe find just something that you find pleasurable about it. For me, it's just the fact of trying something new and building a future that I never had before. I don't know, that curiosity also I find pleasurable. For exercise, again, just find something that you love doing. For eating healthy, if you don't like vegetables, find some vegetable that you like and then experiment with others. Find some protein-rich food that you love, and then, once you get the habit going, start experimenting. Always find something that you love, that you find pleasurable, and make yourself feel successful in the first, BJ Fogg suggests 20 seconds. That's the time that you have to give your brain a signal that this is a rewarding experience. So you gotta make yourself feel successful, not at the end of the week, but every single time you do the process in the 20 seconds, either while you're doing, as Andrew Huberman, another neuroscientist from Stanford, recommends, the best way to wire habit and behavior fast and to make yourself feel good, even if it's hard work, while doing the work, thinking about how it's transforming you and your life. So make yourself feel successful either during the experience or right after it. That's what actually works for fast habit formation. So again, using the words of BJ Fogg, habit is not a function of repetition, but a function of emotion, specifically emotion of success, of pleasure, something that makes this experience feel rewarding right while you're doing the habit and then, or right after, preferably while and after, and just through the whole experience, feel successful, make yourself feel good. And that's what's going to wire the habit much faster. Don't do things that you hate. Your brain will not wire that habit, because why? your brain doesn't understand the difference between good or bad. Well, in some cases it does. Like if it's pain, probably not that great. But in most things in our life, with most habits, your brain doesn't really know whether that's good or bad, especially if it requires hard work and hard change at the beginning. The only way your brain can know that there is a reward coming if you make yourself feel successful and you understand exactly what that reward is, and you start feeling good while performing the habit. Some people say, isn't it like kind of fooling your brain? It's not fooling. Again, it's looking at a different side of a coin. Any experience always has those two sides, the struggle, the difficulty, but then all the payoffs and all the changes that in bringing as you do it into your life, and also as a learning experience. Like what kind of person are you becoming that is consistently performing this habit, this ritual, and what can you learn from that? How can you improve? How can you get better? I find it very satisfactory, like when you lean into an experience, even if it's challenging, and you learn from it and you discover something new about yourself. The point here is, you're not fooling yourself. You're looking at different sides of the same coin. Again, nothing in life is fundamentally good or bad. It always has both sides. It's just what you choose to look at any moment that's going to define your experience with that thing or that experience. So remember that. It's not about fooling yourself. It's looking at a different side of the same coin. And that's about it. That's what I wanted to share with you, folks. BJ Fogg, behavioral neuroscientist from Stanford. Look him up. He has a lot of great stuff. Again, works in corporate, helping companies to install cultures and habits and behaviors. He is always working on something interesting. So look him up. His book, Tiny Habits, is also, it has, like, what I love about BJ Fogg's books is that it gives you the science. Okay, this is how it works, right? You gotta have motivation, you gotta have ability, you gotta have prompt, and he draws in the book those functions and graphics and just explain a lot of this in a very simple way, down to like bare bones. And once you understand the structure, you can understand how every single of your habits you're trying to build fit into the structure and how you can improve it, right? So for example, behavior equals map, motivation, ability, prompt. Now you have that in your head. And then behavior is not a function of repetition, but a function of emotion. You can just remember that. And each time you try to do a new habit, install, rewire your behavior, you're going to remember that. So that's what I love about BJ Fogg's work, because it's simple and it's science-based and it gives you the most essential elements of what you're trying to achieve here. So check him out. As always, check out Andrew Huberman's work. He gives a lot of science and a lot of different habits and protocols and rituals to improve our performance, health, and life in so many different ways. So check that out. And don't forget, folks, if you want more people to hear this information, most importantly, if you found this information on this podcast useful, helping you in different ways in your life, then please do go to iTunes or Stitcher or Podcast Addict or Spotify and rate, review in any form you can, share, also tag me or not tag me, just share with people, it allows me to bring more people and spread really good information that, as you know from your experience, helps you to live a better life and do things better and achieve your results in a more effective way. So help me to share this, help me to help more people. So just again, review, share, put a comment. If you can write a review, that would be amazing. That would be the best thing to do to support this show. And if you have any questions, as always, reach out, Angela at brainbreakthroughcoach.com. Stay tuned for the next episode on Friday about focus, all about focus, how to get focused fast and stay focused long without any nootropics, over caffeination, and all the crazy stuff that's out there. So stay tuned for that. Review, share, rate our podcast. Have any questions, reach out. Until next time, have an awesome day, an awesome rest of the week, and start forming habits the right way, the scientific way.